Welcome to Visual Scale Modeling. This is part 25 of the DeAgostini Star Wars Millennium Falcon build. In this part, I'll be working through issues 87 to 89, and that deals with placing on the rear engines and some electrical components. So let's jump into this and see how I get on. So starting off with issue 87, and here I'll be placing in some of the landing lights. So it's back to the bottom section of the Falcon, and I'm just placing in the circuit boards and lights. As you can see here, they have their own little housing, and they're just screwed on with a normal screw. It then gets connected to the circuit board. The circuit board has various ports, each are numbered, so it's very important that I put each one in its proper port. So the other one is put in exactly the same, but this one has a longer wire to reach the circuit board. There's 4 in total to place in, and the next thing to go in is the cut-off switch for those lights. There's a little push button here, and this gets fitted in the cavity it's going to be holding the landing gear. So if the landing gear is up, the button won't be pressed, but if the landing gear is down, the button will be pressed and lighting up the lights. And I'll just flip it over and do a small light test so you can see the 4 coming on now. On to issue 88, and in this issue is building the housing and the lights for the engine section. As you can see there, I'll be using the parts from 87 as well to do this. So the lights are coming pre-wired, which is a good thing. I don't have to worry about having to wire them and so forth. The wire fits inside the unit. There's 2 notches for the wire to run in and out of the component. So I don't have to cut any notches in the component. The 2 halves go together. There's a little location pins for them to sit in, and then it's held together with some screws. I've added a little bit of super glue to the main housing just to run those lights down. The lights do have their own sticky backing, but often or not the sticky backing is not very good and it will peel off. So it's better just to secure it with a little bit of glue. They then get mounted inside. There's 4 little location points on each unit. It's vitally important, obviously, to get these put in the proper place. In fact, if you don't, you wouldn't get both in anyway, because it's such a tight fit. But once I've located the 4 pins, they're just screwed on in the normal manner. And same goes for the second one as well, of course. And when it's that done, I can just connect them to the circuit board. I've discovered a couple of issues with the wiring that's going to have to be sorted out before I move on. This little wire here was connected to the mains connector here, and it's came off. So that's going to have to be resoldered back on before I do anything else. And also, when I've connected up the lights, I've got a string of bad lights. They're just not coming on. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to replace all these lights as well. So first of all, to the soldering. This is quite awkward to get a bit of solder done on here. The shoe's meant to fit upright, but I just couldn't get it to sit. So I've just flipped it around, and that made for a more stable base to fit the contact point. It's only a little bit of soldering needed, but I have to be careful not to burn the model as I'm doing this. And I'm going to isolate it with some hot glue. So I'm just squeezing some hot glue over the soldered area. One that will make it secure, it won't come off again, and of course it will isolate any bare metal parts. Now on to replacing the LED strips, which is really annoying, but luckily I do have some, and I've got some blue ones, so I'm going to put blue in. The only problem with these ones are that they were manufactured to be used outside, so they have a protected film over them, which is going to have to come off because I need to get to the metal contact points to solder onto it. So as you can see, I've taken off the strip off the main unit, and I'm just cutting back the protective layer on the LED strip that I'm going to place in. I'm just peeling off all the little bits of plastic and exposing the metal contact points. So I've got the length of lights I need. Now these lights are going to be slightly longer than the ones in the unit, so they overlap on the frame, but that's okay. First of all, it's just to solder a little bit of solder, or solder, depends where you come from, on the contact points. There is a little bit of flux on these contact points to stop them from burning also. I've then cut off the wires from the old LED strip, and I'm just stripping back the sheath to expose the wire. And then I'm adding a bit of solder to the wire. This is called tinning, this process. So it's just a little bit of solder on each end of the wire. And then it's just a matter of connecting the wire to the new light strip. If you are doing this, pay attention to your positive and neutral points, especially if you've got strange colour of wiring. If you haven't got the black or red or the brown and blue, have a look, make sure you know exactly where your positive and negatives are. Now, because the lights are going to overlap the frame of this unit, I'm just placing in little bits of sprue. So just the offcuts, like so, and then the strip can just lie in the centre over it to create a bridge as such, just so they're not sagging. And each one will be sprue. I'll have a little bit of glue on it just to hold the light in place. I've also run into another problem. I've extended the wire here because when I done a test fit off camera to see if everything was working, and it didn't work. When I plugged the lights into the motherboard, no lights came on. So that's a bit concerning. So I've taken off the connectors, added some extra wire, and as you can see there, they lit up through my main power supply. So now that it's connected, I'm just going to insulate the wires with a bit of shrink sheath, and I'm just shrinking that down with my solder iron so that protects any bare metal wire. Now I haven't got a meter to tell me if currents are running through my wires, so I'm going to do a cheat way. I've exposed a little bit of wire on the battery pack and then wrapped around my wire from my lights. At this point I had a suspicion it was the battery pack not working properly. So when I done this, I turned it on, and lo and behold, I didn't get any light. So I tested the lights again through to the main power supply, and as you can see, they are all working fine. Now my external power supply is 12 volt, the battery should be 12 volt. There's 4 AA batteries in there, so that's only 6 volt. And of course, if you have anything running off battery power, the more lights you have on, the quicker your battery will run out. I just don't think what they supplied you was powerful enough to power everything, including the ramp and so forth. So you can see the light on there. That is because it's connected to the mains, and I push the button and you see the light coming on. So I'm going to discard the battery component of the build now. It's not completely useless. It could be used for something else, but I don't think it's a good backup for this model. So I was a bit disappointed with that. And now I know everything works. So I'm just going to reconnect the plugs for the circuit board. Now it's all right me doing this because I have a vague idea what I'm doing. I'm no expert by any means, but I have a very basic understanding how these things work. But if you've never done anything like this before, and if you start building this kit, you'd be very disappointed. Yeah, it even says in the instructions it may not work. So they knew that they had this problem. However, I've had this kit for about 4 or 5 years. I don't know whether you can still get replacement parts from it if you ask them to replace them. It says in the issue, just phone them up and they'll you can speak to a customer advisor and they'll help you out. Whether they will still hold these parts, I have no idea. But luckily, as I said, I have a vague idea what I'm doing. So everything is on and attached now, as you can see. And if I just hold the button, you can see the lights coming on. I just put my hand in there. The blue actually looks better than the white LEDs that they were supplying anyway. So in a way, I'm quite glad it happened, because I put in blue LED lights. And on to issue 89. And in this issue, I'm preparing some of the inner parts. I'm putting on some brackets, but first of all, I'm putting in the first turret. Now I'm using Formula 560 canopy glue here to place in the clear glass area. Now the instructions say the original model for filming didn't have an actual glass piece in it, but they supplied one in case you wanted to put one in, and of course it stops with any dust build up. I think it looks better with the glass in, and I think the studio model, they would have had glass in if they thought it was necessary, but of course the ship would have some sort of force field or glass in it anyway if it was real. So this canopy glue doesn't fog up any clear plastic parts, hence why I'm using it. I've also put the clear glue on the outer ring to fit the actual gun turret as well. That's just in case any fumes do manage to go onto the glass component. It takes a little bit longer to dry than normal glue, but it does dry quite solidly. Now all it's left to do is connect the turret to the motherboard. Next, I'm joining the two corridors that I built way near the beginning of the build, and they get just pushed together and then held in with 3 screws. The base is next to go on. This just gets glued in. There's no screws involved here. There's 4 little location points for it to sit onto. So I'm using a good dollop of super glue here. And then the base just fits into the 4 location points. It can only go one way, hence why I turned it around, which is good, because obviously you want this to marry up to the location points inside the ship. And then it's much the same for the corridor as well, just putting on the bases. There's no location points as such. There is a little indicator where it goes, and they fit basically where the screws are, so it is quite a tight fit in the end. It's an awkward shape though, so I had a little bit of fiddling to get it right. And all that's left to do for this issue is placing 2 brackets, which are going to be holding the upper section, I would imagine, and they're just placed in with 2 screws. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, you'll be kept up to date with this build and any future builds I may have coming along. Don't forget to leave a comment and hit that like button. Also, why don't you share the video? That helps my little channel as well. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.